the other picture that
oh,
you
that's
showed,
the other
and
picture.
this one. I lived for 4 years with a very good photographer who was a fashion and a magazine photographer, and he did sort of art photography on the side. And we did a lot of work together,
right.
and the one you showed earlier on was one of his pictures.
But this is the one. This is the one that was never used.
Oh no, that one. Yes, that's the one that was done.
Go back to
Vanity Fair,
number 6, the one before this one. There.
Yes.
That one's great.
Yes, that was. I know a lot of people love that picture.
It's a beautiful picture. It's gorgeous.
Well, it's kind of, you know, decadent, isn't it? Especially I don't smoke, you know, so it's a lie. When
the picture
exactly when that shot was taken, actually, it was taken in a posh house in California, Beverly Hills, and I was standing up there on this box in the sun, you know, and I've never seen so many assistants on a shoot as when this thing. Every single... The hairdresser had an assistant. I was having my hair done, and the hairdresser's assistant came up and said, you know, do you want any milk in your fridge? You know, not to me, to the hairdresser. You know, and the photographer had 6 assistants. There were caterers with their assistants. There were all the magazine people with all of their... There must have been like 30 people on this set. I was the only person who didn't have an assistant of any sort. Or I came on my own and I left on my own. And when they stuck me up on this box, you know, half naked. And then they suddenly all disappeared. They all went off to lunch. They kind of forgot that I was standing there. It was exactly that shot. It's quite funny.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then it never ran. So you guys are seeing it.
They never printed it anywhere.
All right. So the last picture, which is getting ready for the Oscars, which is in the gown. It's actually picture number 2, but it's really misordered.
Mm. Yes,
I love that picture.
Yes,
so there you're like the queen, because wasn't that's couture, and it was made for you.
Yes, totally.
So was this an amazing night, or was it strange, or was it...
It was strange and amazing and fabulous and funny and silly, and, you know, it was everything that the Oscars should be, really.
Do you remember it? People say sometimes they can't remember it.
Oh, no, I absolutely remember it. Luckily, I'd done it twice before by then. You know, not won, lost both times. You know, I'm so good at looking thrilled that someone else has won.
Well, I thought you were amazing in Gosford Park, so yes, I'm sorry you had to make that expression for Gosford Park.
That's all right. It's fine. You know, so then I was utterly relaxed. And I just had a wonderful time. I just absolutely loved every minute of it. And you know, all the fittings for the dress were not the least of it. They were, you know, the whole thing was just fantastic from beginning to end.
I just wanted to say one thing about Gosford Park, because I'm curious about A, I love the movie, and B, I think you're phenomenal in the movie, and it's very interesting in the book when you talk about working with Altman that like halfway through he changed the entire relationship between you and...
Yes, halfway through his shooting of the film. He shot the whole of the upstairs people first. So
Was it all improvised, or was it...
No. That's the thing about Altman, is that actually everything's very carefully rehearsed and choreographed. But the way he shoots it, everyone has radio mics on like we have now.
I see.
Normally, when you shoot a film, the person who's on camera is mic'd, and everybody else is off camera. They don't need to be mic'd. With Altman, no one ever knows when they're on camera, off camera, because he usually, he has at least 2 cameras, and they're moving all the time. So it's almost like being in the theatre. But you never know if you're on camera. You never know if you're on close-up, or you just have no idea. So all of you have to act all the time, and you're all mic'd.
Right.
So he has this incredible soundtrack, and it gives it that feeling of immediacy.
But the genius of the film was you all did seem like, I mean, did you rehearse for a long time too?
No, not at all.
Because you all seemed like you could do your jobs and run a household, and it was...
We had a couple of experts there to constantly be giving us advice about how things were done. I have a terrible way of reading a script. It's shameful, really. Which is, I always read the last page first. I see if my character's on it. You know. It's terrible. And if it is, it's a good sign, you know. If it's not, then I go backwards through the script to see when's the last time the character appears. And if it appears, even if it's right at the beginning of the you know, way backwards, but if the last scene is a great scene, in other words, this character ends in a fantastic way, then it's a good role. If the last scene of this character just sort of disappears and just nothing really happens, don't bother to read it from the beginning, you know, it's a waste of time, because it's not going to be a good role. It's just not going to be a good role. I was going to say, when Lynn was talking about it, that I remember reading about Vivien Leigh playing Gone with the Wind, and that she was fired with this internal fire, knowing that she would never have as great a role ever again, and that she had to just give it her all. And she did, every day. And I felt like that with Elizabeth I. I knew that for the rest of this was probably the best role I will ever have in my life. And if I don't give it everything that I've got. And we were shooting in Lithuania in the summertime. It was physically very, very difficult with all those heavy costumes. You know, enormous amounts of lines to learn. It was incredibly exhausting. And we were having to shoot really fast. But I like Vivien Leigh, I just remembered that, and I thought, I've got to, it will never be as good as this again, and you must give it everything you've got. And I did.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much.